Look at that. Look at that. White gold. Premium. Andrex. Andrex Premium. Look at that silky, silky, oh, silky feeling. Oh, look at that. Look at the strength. Look at that strength. Oh, look at that strength. Look at that. It's big, it's beautiful. It's the best. It's the best. Look at that. Yours just for, I don't know, a tenner a sheet. Oh, look at that. There you are. 2 for 15. Oh, look at that. Oh, oh. White gold. The Andrex, the puppy. Look at that. There we are. Oh, look at that. Hey, how can you resist? Come on, I'm the guy to talk to. Here I am. You know, here I am with the hat. Oh, it says, I've crossed out America with real. Make real great again. It's my old campaigning hat. Here I am. Dressed in homage to the Mr. Capitalism himself. The world's greatest living capitalist. The world's greatest living, I don't know, salesman, con man. Call him what you will. Here you are. And here's the stuff. Here's the black market stuff. Look at that. Silk. Oh, that's silky feeling. Genuine Andrex. Genuine. Enough of that. There you are. I'll put it there in me toilet roll vault. There you are. There you go. I'll just hand it off to my my assistant there. There you go. Take that away. Well, here we are. Here we are. You'll bit of a New York capitalism feeling in today's video. Bit of a mixed message, obviously. Got my old red silk, genuine Italian silk, red silk tie on. You know, me black jacket, me best white suit, shirt, and me old MAGA. It's not MAGA. It's Mara hat. Make real great make it. Yeah, I'm too tired to think about it to get it right. As you notice, we got Frank, good old Frank, and his greatest hits in the background there. But yeah, we've gone full. We've gone full, you know, New York, Dow Jones, Wall Street, Trump Towers. There we are. Rockefeller Plaza. There you go. Because of course, it's the big COVID response. This is a response from the US and the UK to the COVID-19 crisis. You know, I'm assuming someone had to explain to Trump and Johnson that COVID-19 wasn't the latest series in a sort of a schoolgirl porn video collection. You know, it was natural. You know, it was natural disease. You know, potentially deadly to a large proportion of the world's population. So yeah, it's today is Wednesday. The look at me power chart there. 18th today. Yeah, 18th of March, and in the space of 2 days, 3 days over the weekend, well, including Monday, 3 days. Let's give them 3 days. Boris Johnson and his geniuses have stolen a march on the old Prez over in the US and been shamed, basically, shamed by their own right-wing press, by the public in bewilderment and panic, various stages between sort of, we don't know what the hell's going on and, oh my god, should I be panicking or should I be panicking? The total lack of leadership, having mixed messaging is probably being quite generous, really, you know. I mean, Friday last week it was, sorry, you know, accept it, you or one of your loved ones is very possibly going to die before this is over, you know, nothing to do with me, wash my hands of it, basically. It's a Pontius Pilate on us all. And then we had the genius, what's his name? Something Valance, or I don't really know. The chief scientific officer appointed by Johnson and his team of bath runners. It was basically, his idea was basically that just you'll all get it. We're not going to bother doing anything to try and stop it or slow it down. We're going to stop testing in the community, only test in the hospitals for people that we think might be presenting the symptoms. And we'll or me and you will just develop or they'll wait for us to develop a herd herd immunity, which apparently isn't a valid scientific response to this at all, surprisingly enough, and of course a disastrous economic and social response, because apparently you need tens of millions of people to start to develop this theoretical herd immunity, by which point of course you've got hundreds of thousands of deaths, you've got people, collapse of small companies, big companies, total collapse of the NHS, because of course that would include workers in the NHS, frontline workers. I mean, these are the sort of geniuses we've got running this country, the sort of advisors they're appointing as well, And of course Boris Johnson was able, as usual, because whenever there's a crisis, be it floods or this, his standard tactic, his modus operandi is to just disappear and not say anything. I think that's certainly what he was told to do by old Cummings during the election last year, and that's obviously that's the rolling advice for Boris. Don't say too much, but now he's been forced into these daily briefings. Big fucking deal, pardon my French. Briefings don't save lives from these idiots, particularly. Let me just get this ad. Get to Frank. So it's been a disaster. But as of last night, I actually watched Newsnight. I don't know why, because I've been avoiding all bloody news, but because of all this sort of mixed messaging and panic. I watched it, and the World Health Organization and its doctors and the medical professionals here that have nothing to do with his appointed chief scientific advisor, actual doctors working in the NHS and sort of senior doctors and virologists, have been saying, what kind of stupid bloody response is that? This herd nonsense. That's just, I heard one of them saying, is this a joke? They thought it was a joke. I think that was the head of the the BMA, not doing well tonight, the BMA, actually pondered whether Sir Vacant's what's his bloody name again? Valance? I can't remember now. Herd advice was some sort of practical joke or something. They didn't think it was real. And also when he found out it was, he said, well, that's not, that's obviously going to lead to problems I've just mentioned. And not work anyway, probably. So, and of course, so they've been sort of shamed and cajoled into actually responding the way most of the rest of the world have. South Korea, China, Italy, I think even Iran, where they've been having the sort of outbreaks, which is to do everything possible as quickly as possible, strategy-wise, to slow the spread down, to slow it down, to give the emergency services, the NHS, and we know what state the NHS is really in. I mean, that's come out, even if you didn't realise before, when they were asking people, the health secretary was on TV asking people if they could make respirators for us. I mean, Jesus Christ, So all that's come out, so they've changed now to what the rest of the world's been doing, which is, closing schools today here in Wales. So by Friday, all the schools will be closed. Scotland, I think now England as well. Basically, so they can use the schools if they have to for overspill, and also to I don't know, quarantine if they have to, I suppose, frontline medical staff and whatever, but obviously stop the spread of between the kids as well, potentially. So, which is what the rest of the God's come out, which is what the rest of Europe's done, But of course not America. America, the US, still seem to be on the same sort of confused, mixed message sort of state that we were before the weekend. I know Trump came out with a lot of crap, as he often does, about, it was, I literally watched him standing in a lab somewhere in America after he was being shown around it by the people trying to sort of work out, how COVID-19 was sort of spreading, and how to sort of tackle it basically with the drugs, and start the vaccine development and everything. And he stood there with I think the director of the place and his people around him, and he said something like, the tests are coming, everyone's going to get tested. They're beautiful tests. I mean, who speaks like that? You're terrified for your life because you have to pay for it there. You have to pay for your life there, or else you don't get to live. But we've got these beautiful tests, beautiful tests. And you see, I mean, just never fails the way this man speaks and puts his bullshit across. I mean, the greatest salesman. Who's his audience, for Christ's sake? Who's buying this anyway? But from what I can see, it seems that he's been slightly sort of shamed by his own media again, and the medical community in the US and the World Health Organization into, at least on the face of it, changing tack. But again, at the same time, I noticed and saw reports that insurance companies over in the US, insurance companies' stocks, rallied, shot through the roof, while a lot of the rest of the economy over there and here is going south. Airlines, businesses that can't sort of survive without sort of workers there, working, manufacturers, things like that are left. The whole holiday industry. I mean, I think a lot of big famous hotels I've heard over in Las Vegas in the US, the holiday parks, Disney World, Disneyland, the Universal Studios, they've all shut, So if you're in the drug or health business, you're doing well. If you're in the old Andrex business, the old toilet roll business, you're doing well. I can't see who else is. And that's the other thing that this is all of this seems to be buried in the news, is that right this minute, and COVID seems to have kicked it all off, the years overdue global economic crash, possibly depression, biggest one since 1939, deepest one to come, seems to have arrived, according to what we're seeing, and a lot of independent economists that I listen to and watch closely. But that's not really being spoken about, is it? And you can see why they wouldn't want you and me to know about that on top of COVID. So it's a lot of people are self-isolating already. I'm not over 70, but obviously, if you've seen some of my past videos, I do have some medical conditions that put me in the at-risk group, unfortunately, which means I'm having to sort of now limit my social contact, the amount of social contact that I'd usually have. Unfortunately, I didn't want to do that, but I'm going to have to. And I'm also in my sort of living situation. I'm with people who have their own health issues, who are at risk, so I can't risk bringing things in, even if I wasn't. So it's a tricky one. Yeah, a lot of people. I've noticed a lot of carers are having to do this anyway. People who are caring for partners with dementia, because social services, of course, were cut so badly here. They've just virtually collapsed. If there's any sort of, and when there is, if and when there is, any extra call on the services and pressure to look after all these over 70s and ill people that have been self sort of confine themselves to their homes and need food and need checking up on. Whereas there's no spare capacity. Where's the capacity? It's gone. I even saw Jeremy Bloody Hunt, the 6-year-long Secretary of Health. Secretary of Health in this country, who isn't anymore, who's now chair. This is just bizarre, isn't it? Who's chair of the House of Commons Health and Social Care Select Committee, criticising the government for not having capacity in the NHS as far as frontline staff, as far as respirators and equipment that they should have to cope with this. He's responsible for that. Bloody you, Jeremy Hunt. You were in charge you were the longest serving Secretary of State for Health we've ever had in this country. Just bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. Of course, what's behind that is, it's all politics, isn't it? Who ran against Boris Johnson for the leadership of the Tory party and could be Prime Minister right now? Jeremy Hunt. You know, him and Boris are not mates, to put it mildly. So this is all digging at Boris. But it's just bizarre watching him, the person responsible for the state the NHS is in, chairing a select committee and criticising the state of the NHS. You couldn't make it up. You could not make it up. So that was just fantastic to see last night. So that's just an aside there. I still can't get over that one. So yeah, I don't know how that's going to work. I think, you know, I was out today with my mum helping her do a bit of shopping, and we took a taxi. It's quite a distance away. We don't drive, and a taxi driver coming back said, "Well, because obviously taxi drivers are self-employed mostly. I don't know what I'm going to do because I'm self-employed. If I have to stop working, which my family want me to do, so I'm not in contact in the car all the time with people, you know, and possibly get this because he was at risk as well because of a health problem. He doesn't see what options he's got. He either carries on and takes the risk, or he stops working, and then what happens as far as, you know, the normal daily day-to-day struggle for the old moolah that we all need to live in this fantastic capitalist freedom. Yeah, no. I mean, I think when this is all sort of died down a bit, there's got to be a reorganising of our economy. There's got to be a social reorganising of our sort of main social structures, health, education, and all of that. Because and manufacturing, we've got to bring some manufacturing back to this country, because what this has shown is that the geniuses that have been running this, our economy for the past decade to 4 decades, neoliberal conservatives basically, that have sort of just farmed off our manufacturing to the Far East and China and things like that. Well, what's happened? It means that now this crisis has hit, we have to go begging for respirators and go begging for safety equipment for the NHS and buy it from somewhere else if it's available, along with everybody else, when we should have been making it here in this country, so that it was here, you know. And I think that may possibly dawn on these for-profit pricks who've been wrecking this country to the point where we now are going to struggle to respond to all of this, and isolation in one form or another, and limiting social contact in one form or another, be it schools, pubs, theatres, out and about, is now what is the main prescription, which of course isn't ideal because it has a societal impact, it has an economic impact at the time when we're already facing an overdue economic crash. So this can only make it worse, it can only deepen it, it can only make it longer. But again, from what I hear from a few people talking about the government and the Bank of England, they're in total denial. They think just moving a few decimal points on the computer, which is literally how it works now, will just pump the amount of money needed into the system, into the banks, to keep it going again. That's what he did in 2008, and here we are now, waiting for the life support that they put the banks on in 2008 to finally fail. The patient's dying. This is the Western capitalist, free market, neoliberal, no checks and balances patient, despite the life support it was stuck on back 12 years ago, finally giving up the ghost. These people don't understand it, and these people never did understand it, and all the mechanisms they put in place to try and slow down the economic crash, the economic death, capitalist death here and in the US, are only going to exacerbate it, are only going to make it worse, and they won't stop it. Very funny, but not funny. For years I've been listening to so-called government economists here, Bank of England economists, the Fed's economists, all these capitalist economists, love capitalism and free markets apparently, laughing at Russia and China because they're buying gold. Why are they buying gold? They need to buy gold. We can just again move the decimal places. We are sort of we're sovereign in as much as we make our own money. All stuff. Well, of course, when the economic shit hits the fan, and you're in a how do they put it? What's the term they use? Always makes me laugh. A slowdown, a global economic slowdown, contraction. Nice euphemisms. You need tangible things, because decimal points on a computer don't mean a thing. You know what I mean? People want to know, when you want to start paying off bills nationally and debts, that you've got stuff to back it up with. Gold. Russia and China have been buying up gold reserves for years, and we have not, on the same scale, or just haven't been. Same with the US. So it now turns out that now we need that sort of stuff. We need to buy equity, real things, tangible things to back up, to show that we can back up our debts, basically, to the creditors. The geniuses have missed the boat. They haven't done it. I think we're now on a par from what I hear. I think Russia and China more or less are on a par with their sort of gold reserves as the US and the UK are. So they've really planned and done it, because they haven't been blinded by this salesman, red tie, big mouth, big beautiful salesman shite. You know what I mean? And at least Trump can do that. He can do the sort of. Johnson is. It's not even a Trump. He's the world's worst Donald Trump impersonator. He's got the wig. He's got the do. He's got the blackjack. He doesn't wear a red tie. Tory. But he's a bumbling Billy Bunter, Dickens character. He's an Arthur Daly second-hand car salesman, but without the charm, without the wit, without the likability, And we're finding this out now, because he's clearly completely out of his bleeding depth. And as usual, it's us, the British people, who are about to save this one by basically stepping in ourselves and doing what we need to do. Yes, there's been panic buying by some people, one or two people, which is annoying for the rest of us. But people are already limiting contact, already self-isolating. People are already washing their hands for 20 seconds minimum. Making sure they've got their tissues and things to catch their sort of sneezes and colds. If they've got a cough, if they're running the temperature, isolating themselves if they can. So, as per usual, it's us sorting things out for ourselves, way before our government, our Prime Minister, all of the big advisors and geniuses that they hire tell us what we should be doing. We already know. We already know. We're doing it. So, yes, it's the coronavirus. Yes, it's big. It's beautiful. Not so beautiful, but it's big. And it's here to stay for a little while, anyway. It's checked in. We don't know when checkout is exactly, but hopefully, with our common sense and our resolve and our solidarity shown towards one another, because that's what people really do, you know. On the whole, we'll beat this thing. We'll beat it, you and me. There is another side. There will be an end to this. I know it doesn't seem like it at the minute because it's panic. Stay off the news and stuff. Don't go on your phone. Don't look at all the stuff on your phone, because I know so many people who are intelligent people who are burying their heads in their phones all the time, looking at all the social media, looking at Twitter, looking at Facebook, watching the news. Don't do it. Reading newspapers. Don't do it. Don't do it. Select what you look at. Select your sources. Okay. Find somewhere that's giving you the rolling numbers, the stats, the geography of where the cases are that are known. Bear in mind, of course, that testing is not what it's at the level it needs to be for us to get the full picture. But if you want to do, okay, look at where the numbers are, double them, triple them in your head to be safe, I suppose. So you've got some idea what's going on. Make sure you wash your hands. 20 seconds minimum. Basic hygiene stuff, isn't it? Don't go stop coughing and sneezing all over people. You've got a cough and sneeze that's just turned up. What temperature? Stay at home for 14 days if you can. If you can't, I don't know what to say. This is what the government's for, isn't it? The government's there to try and step in for situations like this and say, like the 330 billion bailout for big businesses and businesses yesterday. CBI are really happy, but of course, and the sort of the 3-month mortgage holiday, which might be coming along, fantastic. But what about people who are renting like us? And most of you know, if you're private renting, what about that? What about people who are out of work? Still need to buy shopping, still need to buy food, still need to pay bills. What about pensioners? What about what about the people who aren't business owners, basically? So I'll see what happens today, tomorrow, what they're going to roll out with that one. But we're talking about Tories here, so I'll be amazed if there's anything massively spectacular. Universal basic income for the people that get COVID so they can pay their bills would be a fantastic idea, and is, believe me, if they could suddenly find 330 billion here and suddenly find trillions over in America for their banking system like that by moving decimal places, they can find money temporarily to give people who need it, £1,000 a month to pay bills, to buy food and all that, pay for childcare costs while nurseries are still open. So, that's just my humble take on it. So from me, you're big, you're beautiful, you're gonna beat this. Bye bye from Che, bye bye from me. Ciao for now.